Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to yet another video on the channel. This is one of the biggest videos of the year, our official championship predictions for the 23-24 season, which starts next week, by the way. This is going to be a big video. I'm joined by Sophie. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, it's a really hard one, by the way.
It is hard, and I'm ready for the hate, but let's go.
By the way, we don't just do it on the spot. We try and do as much work as we can behind the scenes to get these predictions as accurate as possible. But as you all know, the championship is very hard to predict. Like I say, guys, you might agree with our predictions, you might disagree with our predictions. Either way, feel free to share your own predictions down in the comments. Like I say, if you disagree, that's fine. We're not going to hate your predictions. Just don't hate our predictions. It's a bit of fun. Please do support this video by hitting the like button. If we could go for 750 likes, that would be amazing, seeing as it is one of the biggest videos of the year. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do subscribe, as our goal is to hit 35,000 subscribers by the start of the new season next weekend. So please do like, please do subscribe, and let's go through the teams alphabetically, Sophie, starting with Birmingham City. Birmingham, I am putting in 14th, which is progress on last season. They've got new owners and they've got players coming in through the door. They've got Ethan Laird, they've got Keshi Anderson. I think they've built up a nice team, Sakiri Dembele. And like I say, the new ownership as well. I feel like there's maybe cause for Birmingham City to be a little bit more positive this time around as opposed to recently. I don't think, I mean, it is a bit of a climb up this table. This is about a 3 or 4 place climb. I think it's going to be gradual improvement. It won't take one transfer window for Birmingham to shoot into that top 10 or something, but I think they're going to be firmly in the middle, and that's a good season.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they're going to have a season where they just scrape by or whether they're in a relegation battle. I do think it's going to be a mid-table finish. I've got them to finish 13th. I agree. I think the new owners coming in, they've had a busy transfer window and it's looking good. So I do feel like it's going to be a gradual project at Blues. So positive steps for me and a 13th place finish. 13th place, interesting. Okay, let's move on to Blackburn Rovers. Blackburn Rovers, I'm going for to finish in 13th place. They've brought in a couple of new faces, Sigurdsson, Niall Ennis, but we have seen the likes of Ben Brereton Diaz, Bradley Dack, Ayala going out the door. And I feel like those players have been quite crucial over the last couple of years. Some big name players there. I do tend to underestimate Blackburn when I do these predictions, and I had them quite far down the table last year, and they did amazing finishing in the 7th last year. But I do think this is a transfer window that's not giving me lots of reasons to think they're building massively. I don't think they're going to be dramatically worse. I think they're going to be about mid-table this season. Yeah, I agree. I'm actually shocked that you agree. I thought you'd have them a little bit higher. I've got them to finish 12th. I agree, they've not had the best transfer window. A few players out and a few more players linked to leave. I think Sam Gallagher's linked to leave as well. So it's going to be a bit of a change up in their squad. So could go either way, but I've got them to finish mid-table as well. Mid-table, interesting. Okay, let's move on to Bristol City, and sticking in mid-table, I'm going to go for Bristol City to finish 12th. I've got a bit of a mid-table pile up here. They've brought in Rob Dickey, Jason Knight and a couple of other players as well, so I think their team has got better since last season. Last season they just fell shy of the top 12. I think this time round we might see a subtle improvement. I don't think I'm going to go for anything too outrageous here. I just think they're a steady championship side. I don't think they're in danger of going down. They've got an experienced manager in Nigel Pearson who, like I say, at times has looked under pressure there but has held on. He just keeps holding on, yeah. I think they could make a slight improvement this season. I can see Bristol City being just inside that top half for me. Yeah, I've got them to finish 15th. I'm not expecting big things from them this season. I did say the same last season, and at times I thought, oh God, I was miles off it. But actually, in the end, I wasn't too far off. And I feel like it's going to be a bit of the same again this season. So, I don't know. I agree they've made a few good signings, so it could be a little bit higher than I'm predicting. But at the moment, 15th for me. 15th. Okay, let's go across to Cardiff City. Now, Cardiff City is an interesting one. In my early predictions, I said they were going down. Then I had a look at their transfer business, the likes of Aaron Ramsey, Matey, Kyle and Grant coming in. That's pretty good considering a transfer embargo. I don't think they've got worse. I think they maybe got a little bit better, but I ultimately think the championship's got harder. So I've gone for Cardiff to drop 1 place and into that bottom 3. Apologies, Cardiff fans. I think your business has been sensible, but I think it's going to be very tough down the bottom. And you were only 1 place above it last year, 22nd. Yeah, I think I said in my early predictions that I've got Cardiff to go down, and I'm sticking with that. 23rd place for me. I just can't see them staying up. I know they've had a couple signings. People were buzzing about Aaron Ramsey, but he's aging now, so I don't know if he's going to do a great job. I don't see you having the quality to stay up, so you're going down for me, 23rd.
23rd, wow. Okay, let's move on to the mighty Sky Blues. So for Coventry City, I've ummed and ahed about this one, but I have put us in 3rd place. Now, as much as that'd be great to make even more improvement, because Coventry City over the last 6 seasons with Matt Robbins have always climbed the football pyramid, we're now in a position where the only way we can achieve that this season is by cracking into that top 4. And to finish 3rd would be amazing, but it'd also mean we've just fallen short of the automatics. But I think it will be challenging at the top, and we're going to come on to the teams in our automatics in a bit. I think Coventry City's business has been sensible. I think Gyökeres going was inevitable, but Ellis Sims coming in has been good. Sakamoto could be a really decent signing as well. Starting to bring in some defenders as well. And I think Gustavo Hamer, I think he's going to be staying.
Yeah.
I feel more confident that he's staying than going. Not ruling it out, but I do feel like he is staying. We've seen him in some pre-season games. I just think they need to get round the table and find a contract that suits him. But Coventry City are in a safe pair of hands with Matt Robbins. I don't see us doing a Huddersfield or a Barnsley, whatever you want to call it. I think generally Coventry's progress has been over 6-7 seasons. It's more sustainable. Playoffs, 3rd.
Yeah, I agree, playoffs. For me, with Robbins, every season has been an improvement on the last. So following that, I'm predicting us to finish 4th. I know a lot of people will be seeing like, oh, we've lost our main striker, and they'll think he's our best player. In my eyes, he's not. Hamer's our best player. And we have got a replacement in for Gyökeres. So as long as Ellis Sims, and I do think him and Godden will make a good partnership up top, and I think they'll get firing. I don't have any concerns for Coventry this season. I think we're going to have another good season and another playoff finish.
On to Huddersfield Town next, and I'm going to go for Huddersfield Town to finish in 19th place. Now, they finished in 18th last year after finishing 3rd the season before. They did look in real danger of going down until Neil Warnock, the saviour, came in and, like I say, kept them up. The bookies had them about 21st this season, so just surviving by the skin of their teeth. I think they might be a little bit better than that, but I just think their signings, there's not been a lot of business here from Huddersfield. I think they'll be safe with Neil Warnock. You've got a safe pair of hands manager there. But Chris Maxwell, I can't really see many other signings. I think Huddersfield will stay up, but maybe a similar season to last, where they're just above the bottom 3.
Okay, I feel like they might be a little bit better than that. I've got them to finish 16th, and that's purely because Neil Warnock is the manager this season. I do look at the team and I don't think, oh, that's a good championship team. I feel like Neil Warnock will get the best out of almost average players, and that's why I've got them to finish 16th. I agree they've not had the best summer transfer window. It's not over yet, but right now the team he's got, I can't see him finishing higher than that, but I don't think that's a bad season, to be honest.
Okay, interesting. Let's move on to Hull City. Hull City finished in 15th last year. I'm going to go for Hull City to finish in 16th this year. I don't necessarily think they're going to be worse this time round. Once again, I just think the Championship looks stronger this time round, so I think that could halt a little bit of progression here for Hull City. Their business has been decent. Liam Delap, Jason Aquino, there's some decent players coming in through the door, and I do like the manager Rosinia as well.
Yes.
So I don't think there's going to be any major drop or anything down the table. I think it could be a bit of a hold. There could be a time where they're flirting in the top half and maybe a little drop later in the season or something, but I think Hull City will be fine from relegation. They're pretty much in the middle here for me.
Yeah, I don't have them going down. I do have them dropping a couple of places, and I'm going to have them to finish 17th. I think Delap's a great player and he's going to be their main man this season. I agree, I like the manager. I think he's doing a good job. I think they'll be looking higher up the table, to be honest, this season. I don't think they'll be happy with the 17th place finish, but as you said, the Championship is very, very tough this year.
Interesting, 17th place. Right, let's move on to Ipswich Town. Ipswich Town, who came up 2nd place in League One. I'm going to go for them to get into the top half. This might sound a bit, maybe a bit much, I don't know, but we saw it with Sunderland last year, where a team from League One, they got into the top 6. So just to say Ipswich get into the top half maybe isn't too outlandish. I think there's a lot of positives at Ipswich Town. I mean, one of them being they are a big club. They've got a decent fan base. There's going to be a lot of noise coming from Portman Road. I think it's going to be a hard place to go and get results.
Yeah.
McKenna, great manager. I do like McKenna as well. Colin Chaplin, could he have a good season in front of goal? Maybe. They've brought in Amari Hutchinson from Chelsea as well, so I feel like they're building up a strong team. A strong enough team for me to be quite clear of trouble down the bottom, and possibly in contention for the top 6. I think Ipswich are going to have a good season.
Okay, we've got quite different views on this one. I feel like they're going to have enough to stay up, but I don't think they're going to have the best season. They did very, very well in League One last year, and that's why I feel like they've got enough to stay up. However, I think this season the aim's got to be survival and then push on from there next season and push up the table. But for me, I do feel like it's going to be a difficult season, but surviving, so 20th.
Interesting. Okay, let's move on to Leeds United, and boom, Leeds United for me are going to win the league. They've brought in Ethan Ampadu. At the moment, they've still got Ayling, Nonto, Bamford. I know one or two of those players could be going out the door, but I still think they've got quite a bit of that spine and team that they had in the Premier League. And they've got Daniel Farke. Daniel Farke is a winner at this level. I know he's only done it really with Norwich at this level, so it will be interesting to see him do it with a different team. But I think Leeds United are going to have the resources to really compete at the top. At this moment in time, they are probably the team that's come down making the slowest business. But I think they're being sensible and careful with their players coming in. And I don't necessarily think that you have to sign 100 players to win the league. I think just a handful of good additions and Leeds United could be up there. I'm going to back them to win the league.
Okay, I feel like I had them in the automatics early on, but I have changed my mind. I feel like it's going to be a playoff finish. There has been a lot of outgoings, albeit a lot of them are loan signings, which I'm guessing that was a clause in their contract to do with the relegation. But I feel like that's smart business, because if they go back up, those players will be back in and they've still got Premier League players. Saying that, I do feel like they're going to have a good season. I like the manager. He did a very, very good job at Norwich, so I feel like he's going to do a good job at Leeds. I don't think it's going to be an automatic place. I do think it's going to be a bit of a 3-horse race and they're going to be in it. But for me, just miss out. So 3rd place.
3rd place. Okay, let's move on to another relegated side, Leicester City. For me, Leicester City are going up. Automatics. I've got them in 2nd place. I did kind of change my mind here between Leeds and Leicester a couple of times. I think these are going to be the 2 sides going up. Leicester City have just got a lot going for them as well. Once again, the resources that they're going to have. Maresca, is a high-profile manager for this level, in my opinion. They have obviously seen James Maddison and Harvey Barnes going out the door. We didn't expect to see them playing in the Championship, but the money that they've got for them,
I feel like they could have got a little bit more, but they're a Championship team now.
That's it. I feel like when you've been relegated, you've got less bargaining power. But they have brought in players like Connor Cody, Harry Winks, Callum Doyle. We know is a good centre-back for his age. I think Leicester City are going to be strong, and I'm really excited for that Leicester-Coventry game on the opening weekend. I've got them in 2nd place.
For me, Leicester City are going to be my champions. Straight away, they were the most expensive team to get relegated. Obviously, you knew there were going to be a few players out the door, whether that be on a free or getting a fee for them. However, I feel like their business has been quite smart. They've obviously spent some of the money as well, but I feel like they've invested it quite well in some of the players that have Premier League experience, and also Connor Cody's got Championship experience. I feel like they're going to have a very, very strong season, and I can see some games them just absolutely walking over some teams, and I'm really looking forward to the Coventry game. Hopefully we'll get the 3 points, but for me, Leicester City are my champions.
There you go. Right, on to Middlesbrough next, another team we think will be strong this season. I've got them in 4th place. I don't think they're going to be worse. I've put them to hold, but if I had to move them in any direction, I would have moved them up. I think Middlesbrough have got a lot going for them. They've got Michael Carrick. His points to game record was unbelievable. When you think Middlesbrough finished 4th last year, but they were in the bottom 3 when he came in, it's incredible. They've got Chuba Akpom at the moment, unless he goes out the door soon, but
I think he'll stay.
Yeah, I think he will, and he was the top scorer last season. They've brought in quite a few players as well. Senny Dieng's a good new goalkeeper, so I think they're building up the team nicely. I don't think they'll be worse than last season. Like I say, I think if they're going to be anything, they'll be better. I've got them to hold in 4th place. I'd like to see Middlesbrough go up to the Premier League. Not at Coventry's expense, I hope, though. But there you go. I think Middlesbrough are going to have another strong season. Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see Michael Carrick having a full season at Middlesbrough, actually. I feel like he does good business. Obviously, they had to replace a lot of loan signings last year, and they seem to be doing quite well in the transfer window at the moment. If they can keep hold of some of those good players as well, I feel like they're going to have another playoff finish. For me, it's going to be a 5th place, so just a 1 place drop, but almost dead set playoffs for me.
Okay, let's move on to Millwall, another team that'll be wanting to join that playoff party. I have actually got them in 6th place. I think Millwall will sneak into the playoffs this time round. Now, Millwall really annoyed me last season because I predicted you to finish 6th, and then on the final day you threw it away, losing at home to Blackburn after being 3-1 up at half time. So I'm going to back you again. I feel like you can use that defeat to Blackburn on the final day as fuel to fire your season and get back on course this time round. Millwall are a good team. They've been recruiting quite well, and Gary Rowett's a good manager. I think Millwall are building up a decent team. They've got Tom Bradshaw as well.
Yeah,
he's a good player. He's a goal scorer, isn't he? I'm going to say Millwall are going to get in the top 6. I said it last season. They proved me wrong. You better prove me right this season. Millwall, get in there, 6th.
Okay, I actually disagree. I feel like they're going to finish a couple of places below that, so they're going to miss out on playoffs. It's going to be an 8th place finish for me.
They always finish 8th, don't they?
Well, it's always around there, isn't it? So I feel like that's a bit of a safe bet, saying they're going to finish there. But I don't think that's a terrible season. Obviously, they've got to be looking for playoffs, but I do see them just narrowly missing out, so 8th place.
I think 2 things you can come to expect with Millwall is finishing 8th and winning games at home 1-0.
1-0.
That's what we always tend to go for. Yeah. Right, on to the next team. We have got Norwich City. I've got Norwich in 7th. They've got David Wagner. I like him as a manager. They've got Ashley Barnes, Shane Duffy, Jack Stacey. Some decent additions here. I think there'll be a bit of an improvement on a season where they finished 13th last year, so I still can't get over that. That's incredible. Everyone was expecting them to win the league. So I think they will get better. I can't see them getting worse, but I'm not sure. I just think Norwich haven't got what it takes anymore. They haven't got Daniel Farker. They ain't got Buendia. They ain't got Pookie. Those were the things that carried them up each time. I'm going to say 7th.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I've got them to finish 7th, so outside the playoffs for me. I think earlier on in the season, I thought maybe they've got enough to get that playoff finish and just scrape it in 6th, but I've actually changed my mind. I feel like they're just going to narrowly miss out. When you look at teams that are a little bit more consistent, I can see, I'm not going to say who, I'll wait for that one, but I can see another team sneaking in 6th place instead of Norwich. So not a bad season, better than last season, but that was a very poor season. So yeah, just missing out on the playoffs for me.
Interesting. All right, let's move on to Plymouth Argyle. It's good to have Plymouth back in the Championship. It's been some time since they've been in it. They've got a good team. They've got a good manager in Schumacher. They've re-signed Barley Mumba and Morgan Whittaker. They've brought in other players, Connor Hazard. I think they've built up a decent team, and I'm going to go for them to survive just in 21st place. I think that's got to be the objective here. At a minimum, you know, to stay up, especially after they won League One so comprehensively. They got over 100 points. I think Plymouth Argyle have what it takes to stay up. I'm going to have them in 21st place.
Okay, I've got them 19th. I feel like it might be a little bit more comfortable. I like what they've been doing this summer transfer window, to be honest. They had a very good season in League One. If they can use that momentum going in, they need to get off to a strong start for me. But I can see them surviving again, and yeah, it's just looking positive. Out of the 3 promoted teams, I feel like they've had the best summer transfer window so far. So I've got my eye on you. I feel like you're going to do quite well.
There you go. Plymouth fans, share your thoughts. Is it a case of just staying up, or do you think you really could do well in your first season? Do share your thoughts down below. Let's move on to Preston North End. Preston I've put in 15th, pretty much in the middle here. Over the last 3 seasons, they've finished 13th, 13th and 12th. They are just the middle team, aren't they, Sophie? They just, I feel like they're an immovable object. Like whenever Coventry play them, they're stubborn. They're always quite hard to break down. And in terms of predicting them in the table, they won't budge. Just put them in the middle and you're probably going to be right. There was a time last season where they were flirting with the playoffs, so I don't think that's impossible this time round, even though I think it's going to be even more competitive in the Championship this time. Ryan Lowe, decent manager. They made 1 or 2 decent signings. They're still being linked with a couple of players. At this moment in time, they've still got the likes of Emil Rees-Jacobson and Ched Evans. They're goal scorers at this level who could get a few goals. So I've got Preston in the middle here.
Okay, I've got Preston to finish 10th. I do feel like they're going to be a part of a playoff chase, but I don't see them making it this season. I feel like that's got to be their aim again. They are that team that just kind of finish mid-table, to be honest. They're just almost steady eddies in the Championship now, but you've got to have that ambition to get promoted, and I do feel like playoffs are going to be on the mind, but I don't see them getting it. So 10th place for me. 10th
place. Right, let's move on to Queen's Park Rangers. Now, I like Queen's Park Rangers, but unfortunately I'm going for you boys to go down. 23rd place here. Now, they've got Gareth Ainsworth, and that's... I don't want to say that's ringing alarm bells, because I really like him. And he was really good at Wycombe. Yeah. But I don't know if him and QPR are a fit.
Yeah.
They've brought in a couple of players, Begovic being one of them, but they have seen a few players going out the door. They haven't got Laird, they haven't got Dickey, they haven't got Dieng. And their form, by the way, towards the end of the season, they won 4 games in 30. 4 games in their final 30. That must have been terrible to watch as a QPR fan.
If they didn't get up to the start they had, they would have got relegated.
Yeah, exactly. They had points on the board, which just about kept them up. I'm going for them to go down this time round.
For me, I've got QPR to just stay up, and I'm kind of banking on them. If they get off to a slow start, I feel like they're just going to get rid of Gareth Ainsworth. I can't see them sticking with him, and that could be their saving grace. I don't know, but I see it being a relegation battle for pretty much the whole season, but just having enough to stay up for me. So 21st.
Interesting. Right, let's move on to Rotherham United. Oh, I'm sorry, Rotherham. I've gone for you to go down. You finished 19th last year, but you have seen a few players going out the door. Washington, Ogbene and Richard Wood. There's a couple of players not there this time round. Once again, I don't even think that Rotherham are going to be much weaker. They could be a little bit weaker, but I just think it's going to be fierce down the bottom. I think all the three teams coming up have got a good chance of staying up.
Yeah.
And it's so mean for me to go for Rotherham to go down after I did last season and they proved me wrong. But they just stand out as a team that will go down when you come to these videos, even though I don't want them to. Yeah. I've gone for them to be in my bottom 3. I just think overall the squad quality and depth isn't the strongest. And like I say, I think the 3 teams coming up are going to make it harder for the teams that stayed up last season to survive again. Rotherham going down, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry as well. I'm sending you down in 22nd place. I feel so harsh saying that, but you've got one of the smallest budgets in the league, and it's so hard, especially this year. I know you did prove me wrong, well, you proved us both wrong last year, and you did stay up, but I feel like it's a harder feat this year, and I don't see you doing it, so you're just going down for me in 22nd place.
22nd. Right, let's move across to the other side of Yorkshire where we've got Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday, so if I'm going to go for them to just stay up in 20th place. Now, when we did our early predictions, I said Sheffield Wednesday would be maybe sniffing around the top half. I didn't anticipate the chaos that there's been at Sheffield Wednesday this season in terms of the fact that Darren Moore went out the door, Xisco Munoz coming in. I mean, no disrespect to Xisco Munoz, but I think it's such a big disruption. And then players, who have they signed? They've signed Reece James from Blackpool. I think that's the only signing they've made. So I don't think Sheffield Wednesday will do as well as I first thought. They haven't really added a lot of quality there to their squad, but they have got 1 or 2 good players, Barry Bannon being one of them, that, you know, obviously took them up last season, and their fans should make a difference. I think Hillsborough can be a difficult place to go, and their away fans can make a difference as well. So I do think Sheffield Wednesday will get over the line, just.
I made my early predictions whilst you still had Darren Moore, and that's when I had a little bit more hope. But you've had a really, really quiet summer transfer window. You've got a new manager in. I feel like that is such a risk. I don't see it paying off. I do feel sorry for the fans here because I've seen a lot of negativity at the moment. They're not as optimistic as they was when they first came up. Yeah, so you're going down for me. I do feel like you're going to get most of your points at home as you've got a really good fan base, and I feel like the Hillsborough will be your fortress. But I don't think you've got enough to stay up. So for me, at the moment, it's going to have to be a 24th place finish.
Wow. Okay, let's move on to a team that's come from the other direction, Southampton. I'm going to go for Southampton to finish 5th. They've brought in Ryan Manning, Jay Charles. They've still got the likes of Adam Armstrong and Che Adams at the moment. And they've got Russell Martin. I felt a bit unsure with Southampton. I could definitely see them finishing in the top 2. I could also see them flopping a little bit this season, falling under expectations. I think they're going to play nice football with Russell Martin, but he never really delivered with Swansea. Maybe he will now that he's got a club that have got a bigger budget. I think at a minimum they should be pushing for playoffs. As I say, I could see them getting into the top 2. James Ward-Prowse is the elephant in the room at the moment. Surely he's not going to be there next season. They've got a strong enough team though to compete for playoffs. I'm going to say 5th.
Yeah, I'm actually going to say they're going to get automatically promoted. As I said earlier, there's a 3-horse race for me, and that is the newly relegated sides. I agree, though. I could see Southampton possibly having a little bit of a poorer season. I can't see them not finishing inside the playoff. Yeah, they have got a really good team for me, and I feel like it's going to be strong in the Championship, and that's why I can see them finishing in the automatics, but second place for me.
Second place. On to Stoke City next. Stoke City finished in 16th last year. Going to go for kind of the same this year. I've got them in 17th place. Now, they have been busy, Stoke City. They've brought in Ben Pearson, they've brought in Ender Stevens, Michael Rose, a couple of the youngsters from Wolves as well. I don't think they're going to be any worse, but once again, I just think the Championship looks a lot tougher this year than last season. And I think Stoke City are a team that I've almost famously always over-predicted. Like the last couple of seasons, I always put them higher than where they finished. There's always an expectancy with them. Now, I think they're solid enough. Alex Neil's a decent manager. They've got decent players, like I say, and decent players coming through the door. I just don't think they're going to get worse, but I'm not sure if I can back them to get any better.
Oh, I'm backing them to get a little bit better. I've got them to finish 14th. Last season, they showed signs where they looked amazing, and then they showed times where they looked shocking. So if they can get that consistency sorted, I can actually see them finishing a little bit higher than 14th. However, I feel like they are going to struggle again with inconsistency, but a slight improvement on last year. As you say, they've got a couple new players in, so I feel like that's only going to benefit them, but only a 14th place finish for me.
Okay, on to the Black Cats of Sunderland next. Now, I've put Sunderland in 8th place. Now, Sunderland finished in 6th place last year, which was absolutely fantastic for a team that's just come up from League One. They got 69 points, which most seasons doesn't get you top 6, but last season it did. I don't think they're going to be much worse. I could see them being about the same, to be honest, but I've got them dropping 2 places. It's not a significant drop. Yes, it would mean just short of the playoffs. I think they're going to be in the discussion, is what I'm trying to say here. There's no Diallo at this moment in time. Don't know where he's going to be. Ross Stewart's being linked with clubs, but I will say he is still a Sunderland player at the time recording this, and he could be come the start of the season. They've brought in a couple of players as well. Joe Bellingham, Semedo as well. So I think they're building up a solid enough Championship side to compete again. Yeah. I've got them in 8th.
Yeah, I feel like Diallo is going to be a big miss, but for me, they're a non-mover. As I was saying earlier, I feel like Norwich is just going to be pipped to 6th place, and that's by Sunderland for me. I do see you finishing inside the playoffs again. I feel like it's going to be another good season. Tony Mowbray's doing a great job. He did a great job last season, and I feel like he'll do the same again this season, and I just see you sneaking into the playoffs.
Wow, okay, just inside the playoffs. Right, let's move on to the next team. We have got Swansea City. Might seem a little bit harsh here, but I've gone for an 18th place finish. Now, I'm struggling to justify this one. I feel like I've just put Swansea to drop down the table a bit to let a few other teams through, which might seem a little bit harsh. I think what we could see with Swansea is a bit of a transitional season. I think Michael Duff's a good manager. He proved his worth at Barnsley, and some of the players they brought in have been decent as well. You know, Key, Jerry Yates. Yates could get goals for Swansea, but I feel like Yates coming in is surely a sign that Perot's going out.
That's what I think as well.
And as much as Russell Martin never quite got them into the playoffs, I feel like he was building something, and to then see him go after 2 years when maybe next year could have been the year, seems a bit like, I don't know, I just think it could be a bit of a transition. I don't think they're going to be in any danger of going down, but I have got them to drop a few places. 18th.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I've got them to finish 18th as well. I feel like this one's a bit of a wild card because you don't know where they're going to finish with this new manager. It could go either way for me. As you mentioned, they have made a couple signings and you look like they're going to be good additions to the squad. I do feel like Perot's going to go because you need to get money for him whilst you can, and that will be a big miss. So not a great season for me, and I agree, 18th.
Interesting. Let's move on to Watford next. They have brought in the likes of Tom Ince and Jake Livermore, but I don't see them improving a lot. I've got them in 10th place. Watford, they fell short of the playoffs last year. They've got the quality and the resources you'd imagine to get up there. They're still a parachute payment team, and they've got a decent manager in Ismail. Could see him not being here this time next year, though.
No,
I think that's one of the problems. But you think back to last season, they had Rob Edwards. He went out, and then they watched him go up with Luton.
Rivals as well.
I think Watford won't get worse because they are a strong enough team to at least be in the top 10. But I just think there's teams that look more hungry. There's teams that are recruiting better. There's teams that stick with their managers that are going to be above you. I think Watford will finish 10th.
Yeah, it's not a well-run club for me. It is a big club, and to be honest, they should be finishing higher than I'm going to place them. I'm placing them 11th. You do look at them, their budget, and you feel like they've got to be finishing higher. But I don't see them doing it. I feel like there's better teams out there that's more consistent. Again, they've got that desire more on the pitch. It just seems a little bit disjointed at Watford at times. You mentioned their signings, but I don't think they're massively inspiring signings, to be honest. I don't look at them and think, oh, okay, yeah, they're going to add real quality. They're just all right signings for me, and I don't see them having a good season again. So 11th.
11th. Okay, finally then, West Bromwich Albion, and I'm putting them in 9th place. West Brom, I don't think they're going to drop down the table much. I just think they're probably going to hold, to be honest. There's no activity going on there. There's nothing going on.
Ins or outs, nothing.
So how are you meant to get better unless your players just suddenly decide to play a lot better? I think they've got a good manager in Carlos Corberán.
I like him.
Better than where they were this time last year where they had Steve Bruce. But with not many players coming in, I can't see West Brom advancing, but I think because they're a solid enough team, got a good enough manager and a big enough club, I don't see them falling down the table. So I'm going to go for 9th, which is once again just on the edges of the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. 9th for me. I feel like at times in the season they're going to be in a playoff shout, but I don't see them finishing inside the playoffs. Could go either way, to be honest, sticking with the same team. Could have been looking at last year as a bit of a building season and then look to push on this season and get a playoff finish, but I don't see them doing it. Again, I like Corberán as manager. I feel like he's going to get the best out of this team, but I don't see you finishing inside the playoffs. So 9th place for me. 9th
place. There you go. That wraps up our video, guys. Do feel free to share your championship predictions down below. Like I say, it's a bit of fun, so don't take them too personally. Like I say, if you've enjoyed this video, please do make sure to like. Do drop a subscribe to stay up to date with this championship channel over here. Thank you for joining me, Sophie.
Thank you.
We'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.